this. So we're going to talk about focus and habits together so that you can turn time into an asset. I really do believe that time is something you invest. You don't spend time, you invest it. I'll talk more about that. But we want to do is we want to learn how to use our time as wisely as possible so that we're getting more done in less time, not working more, but getting more done in less time. And that's what you do when something is an asset. We have lots of free training. Some of you are members, some of you are guests. You're welcome to attend our training as guests. Some of our training is better than most people's paid, and a lot of times people in paid programs send people here because our free training is so good. That gives you any indication of just how great SHIFCO is. Hopefully you understand that. We have on April 1st, we're going to be covering pricing strategies. And then on April 22nd, I'm going to be walking through what's called the Conscious Business Forecast. I do that about every year. This next year is this one that's coming out on April 22nd is pretty big because of a lot of the things that have been happening in the world, which everybody I'm sure is aware of. What does that mean? And what does that mean for what we call conscious business? I'll talk a little bit more about that. But you're welcome to attend any of our events. Those are the next two, and we'd love to have you. What SHIFCO does is we train conscious entrepreneurs. So yes, we are a community. We do lots of things as groups, but the training and coaching is, I believe, best in class. And our results kind of back that up. 89% almost doubled their revenue usually in the first year. And we have 97 to 98% of our members stay with us every single month, which is great. And so it really does work, but it's training and coaching and mentoring. And then the community is kind of the cherry on top. And what we focus on is growing your business and maximizing your impact. This particular session on focus is as much about maximizing your impact as it is growing your business, because in order to do that, we have to use our time much more wisely. And I absolutely love what I do. I'm the luckiest person in the world. SHIFCO is one thing that I do. And my background is I've taken companies public. I've multiple companies. I've sold them. And in 2009, I sold my last business and started over with this crazy idea. There had to be a way to do good and make money. And I started Share on Purpose, which is like a purposeful Shark Tank is the only way to describe it. We have two components. We have a speculator fund, which is like a family office where we invest in businesses. One of my favorite investments is yourizzy.com. It's the first zero waste makeup and skincare line. I absolutely love it. And I'm a customer regardless of being an investor because it is so phenomenal. We also have what we call the cultivator. The cultivator creates companies, and we've got several. SHIFCO is actually number 5 that we've created, and I spend about 70% of my time in SHIFCO. The rest of my time is spent managing the portfolio and supporting the team who run those businesses for me, which is great. Again, I have the best job in the world. And I love dedicating my life and my knowledge and wisdom to helping founders grow their good, which sometimes is figuring out what your good's going to be. So that's a little bit about me and us. But let's get on to the topic of why we're here. Now, what we're going to do is Emily is going to be what I call the voice Vanna. And so when you put information into the chat, because I like to collect information at the beginning, so I can customize the presentation to you. But my first question is, when you think about focus, what comes to mind? And go ahead and drop that in the chat, and then Emily's just going to shout that out.
We see flow is in the chat, setting goals, momentum, direction, intention, discipline, gotta be on.
Yeah, all of those are good. Now let's ask a very difficult question. What makes you think you need to learn how to focus? If this session appealed to you, I think this is actually our third highest session on YouTube. We have all of our trainings are listed on YouTube, and this one is usually pops up. It's either third or fourth. So, what makes you think you need to learn how to focus?
Handling too many tasks at once. I've been distracted and procrastinating. Having a doable plan, too distracted. Want to be more consistent. I'm trying to do it all alone
Mm.
because we are playing all roles in our business. Very relatable. Pulled in many directions. Want to ensure effectiveness and efficiency.
All good answers. Thank you for being honest. Now, another question for you guys. Why does it seem so hard to focus? When you think about it, every person that was in corporate America that starts a business, they think they know how to multitask and they think they know how to focus until they start a business. And then they're like, oh, wow, I had no idea. So, why do you think it's so challenging to focus as an entrepreneur? What is it about entrepreneurship?
I don't know how to prioritize.
Because
Too many
everything is a priority.
ideas,
Too
too
many
many
ideas.
one person show. You have to create systems, accountability, processes, make everything up. Shiny object syndrome, discipline, and the weight of everything on your shoulders.
Yeah, all true. It is hard to focus as an entrepreneur. So it's not you. It's really not you. So don't think for a second. Don't judge yourself. It is not you. It is hard to focus as an entrepreneur for all those things that we said. There's no way that you can just instantly know how to focus. The challenge, though, is to win this game. And I really do believe that entrepreneurship is an infinite game. It's always changing. It's always different. It's never easy, but then sometimes it is, and it's two steps forward and two steps back, and sometimes it's two steps forward and three steps back, and then all of a sudden it's like two steps forward, only one step back. And for some reason in our mind we think it should be easy, and we think we should know how to do it, and we think it should always work, but it doesn't. So my first point is, it is not you. It is difficult, it is not easy, and focusing in particular is one of those things. You're going to have to learn how to master it in a different way. That's the only way you can win this game of this infinite game of entrepreneurship, is to learn how to focus. But it is a different type of focus. It's not the same because of all those reasons that we talked about. Now, I'm going to give you a statistic and show you a model that we use in Shift Code to help our members grow. And so as of July of last year, just under 89% of the members using our program doubled their business. And one of the reasons why we're getting these results is not just because of the business training, but because of what we call the performance coaching model. So how the performance coaching model works is, if you think of this box, and on one extreme is stationary. Stationary is like a stationary hurricane. You're just spinning, 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 but you're not really going anywhere. And then on the opposite end of the spectrum is you're mastering entrepreneurship, which I believe is a lifelong game. I haven't mastered it. You haven't mastered it. We somehow think we should master it. You can't master it. It's elusive. But just kind of imagine those two extremes between there. You've got two drivers that move you from stationary hurricane, where you're just spinning, to moving towards mastery. One of them is that you're taking action to apply knowledge. That's focus and habits. And the thing about entrepreneurship that makes focus hard is there's always something new to learn. You never get it right. You're never there. You never master it. It is so elusive, but you have to learn the knowledge and then apply the knowledge and take action on it, which is where focus and habits get built. And if you've ever learned something, you went to a seminar, you started working with a coach, and you're like, oh, that's great. but then you didn't implement it, that's an example of what we mean by focus and habits is you learned it, but you didn't actually implement it. And that happens a lot in entrepreneurship. And then the second thing is you have to be willing. So it's kind of head and heart. Willingness is, I want to master this. I know it's elusive, but I want to become great at my business. I want to become a great entrepreneur. I don't want to just accept mediocrity in my business. So these two factors drive us. And in the bottom left quadrant, which is, I just want to quit, this is too hard, and I'm not taking action, I'm spinning, that's that stationary where you're stagnant and stuck. And in any given moment, any one of us can be in that quadrant. I can fall into that quadrant. It's not just, I mean, I've been an entrepreneur for 25 years, multiple businesses. I can get into that quadrant and I just get stuck and I just feel like I'm circling the wagon. So it's not just you, but what's happening is your willingness has faltered, meaning you want to quit. And there are days when I want to quit, just like there are days when you want to quit. And what happens is your willingness dips, your heart's not in it anymore. And then your heart can come back up, which would put you in the upper left-hand box is I really want this to work, but you're not taking consistent action to apply knowledge. Learn and apply, learn and apply, learn and apply, which is where focus and habits are actually built. And when that happens, you get in a cycle of what we call FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. And you're no longer stationary, you're taking some steps forward, but your fear and uncertainty and doubt is causing you just to lose momentum and you never really get traction. On the opposite end of that spectrum is you're taking action. Yes, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, I'm doing it, and I'm trying to focus and I'm trying to get my habits in place, but your willingness isn't there. You're thinking about maybe I should go get a job or, gosh, this is really hard. Is this the right business for me? And so you're spinning in a different way, but you're moving forward. But what happens is you get very unfocused and very inconsistent. This is where you're second guessing yourself. This is analysis paralysis. And if you're in any of these three boxes, your business is not going to move forward. What we try to do in ShiftCo, and I'm going to give you one of the tools or set of tools that we help our members with, is to move yourself out of these boxes into this mastery quadrant. And then the mastery quadrant, you get your mojo back, you get your motivation back. And then you start to build with your motivation back, you start to build consistency of action. And then you start to become driven. And then all of a sudden you start to build focus and habits and you start actually getting traction. And most importantly, when you're getting traction like that, you're not demotivated when things don't work. And what happens is when you try something and it doesn't work, you automatically assume you're a failure and then your motivation drops and then you drop into one of those other buckets. What we're going to show you is how to use focus and habits to not focus on what's not working, but to instead focus on where you want to go. And so that model is basically the basis for focus and habits. With the idea, we're always moving towards a state of mastery. Again, entrepreneurship is not something you can master, but we should aspire to master it so that we're pushing ourselves out of our comfort zone and moving in that upper right-hand box and trying to stay there as often as you can. So that's what we're going to cover today. There's a couple of reasons why we don't focus. And I want you to self-assess. You don't need to put this in the chat to see if this is you. The first thing and most important is we haven't learned how to focus. And I mean this sincerely. If you thought you were focused in your job when somebody was paying you a salary and then you start a business, you have not learned how to focus. It is not the same type of focus. You really do need to learn how to focus as an entrepreneur, which is very different. The good news is it is something you can learn. So be honest with yourself. Have you actually taken the time to learn how to focus as an entrepreneur? So that's the first reason. Second reason, and I see this a lot, is we start to believe that we can't focus. And then it becomes a story we tell ourselves. Oh, I've got ADHD, or Oh, I'm disorganized, or oh, I've got too much on my plate, so I'm defocused, or oh, I can't prioritize well. And then we just keep repeating that story and convincing ourselves that we can't focus. That's just not true. You can focus, you can learn how to do it, but you have to stop telling yourself the story that you can't. The third thing, and most importantly, I don't care whether your business is just now getting started or you're at 2K a month or 10K a month or 30 or a million. There is too much to do, seriously, always as an entrepreneur. There's just too much to do. There's too many things to do. And that's the part that it's really not you. And you just have to learn how to choose what to do and what to focus on. And then the last thing is we use action to feel better. Now, there's more women here today than men, so I can say this. Women have a much harder time with this than men do. We tend to feel better when we're in, in taking action and busy, 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 and it makes us feel better. And but we're not really making progress. We're just moving, 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 and moving, 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 and we feel better because we're doing stuff, but we're not actually moving the business forward. So these are the top four reasons from our research why we don't focus. Hopefully, you're being honest with yourself about what your root cause is for why you don't focus. Maybe it's all four, maybe it's two of them. Just be honest with yourself. So now we're going to get into what on earth do we do about it. So focus as an entrepreneur requires three things. I'm going to cover all three. Number one is you have to first know what to focus on. And if you don't know what to focus on, you're going to end up with a to-do list a mile long and sticky notes everywhere. And you're not going to know what to focus on. I'm going to cover that today. I'm going to show you how to determine what to focus on. The second thing is you have to develop focus skills. And this is something that's a skill. You have to learn it, then you have to apply it, and then you have to become great at it. And then this idea of that story we've been telling ourselves that we can't learn to focus. Yes, you can. I see it all the time. I was just working with somebody today, this morning, and she's come so far in her business and she's closing sales and she's got a solid pipeline. And the root cause wasn't marketing or sales. The root cause is she couldn't focus. So she's now learned that and she can now see the benefit of that. So you can learn it. It is possible to learn it. Third thing is you need a level of accountability. And this aspect of, you need somebody to be honest with you. It could be a significant other, it can be a workout partner, it can be a coach or a mentor or a community. But you need somebody to hold you accountable to actually make sure you're doing what you said you were going to do. So we need all three of these. I'm going to focus on the first two. I can't get into accountability in this format, but I can focus on the other two. So that's what we're going to cover today. All right, let's start first with this idea of building the competency. The first thing is an insight. I don't know who said this. It wasn't me. Somebody said this, and I can't remember who it is, or I would quote them. But focus on being productive rather than busy. I think, Erica, you are the one that said this, and I don't know who actually, where you got it from, or if you are the originator of this. But I wrote it down. I'm like, oh, that's got to be part of the focus program. So the idea of being busy is we tend to just think if we're doing stuff, I'm shuffling, moving that, and I'm posting on social media, that is focus. It's not. Focus is productive. Productive means that there's a positive result from the activity. Most of the time as entrepreneurs, we're busy, but we're not productive. There's not a positive outcome from the activity. So we need to be productive. It isn't about doing more. It isn't about working more. It's really about being productive where you're getting a net effect from whatever the activity is. So that's the goal that we're looking for. And then obviously, well, how do I do it? So here's the technique that we teach. One is you have to know where to focus. We're going to cover that first. That's a bit of prioritization, but it's prioritization in a certain way. Second is you have to learn how to focus. that is a combination of nervous system regulation and skill and focused activity. I'm going to just briefly touch on those elements. And then my favorite is you have to know how to invest time, not spend time. So let's jump in with how knowing where to focus. So if you really think about focus and you really simplify it and you strip it down, it's really very simple. Where do I want to go? And so when I'm building a plan, I start with the end in mind. Where do I want to go? 1 year from now, 6 months from now, where do I want to go? Where do I want to be at the end of whatever this period is? And then I'm ruthlessly honest about where I am now. So I might say at the end of this year, I want to have XYZ business be scalable. Okay. And you can set a revenue goal or a profit goal if you want, but I feel like a qualitative goal is actually better for this. Of really, where do you want to go? What do you want it to be like at the end of 2026? We're already 1 quarter through this year. Crazy. Where do you want it? What do you want it to look like at the end of this year? So I've got my goal. I'm like, I want XYZ business to be scalable. Find what scalable is. And then I make a list of where am I now? What's not scalable now? What needs to come off my plate? And so I want you to take a minute and really think about your business in 3 quarters from now. Where do you really want to go? Not just a dollar figure, but what is kind of the feeling of the business? What is the flow of the business? Where do you want that to look like? And then just I'm going to give everybody about a minute just to jot some things down. You can finish it later, but where are you now related to that? So we'll take about a minute. I want you to jot down some notes because that's the first most important piece. About 30 more seconds. Okay, again, you'll finish this later, but you've got the exercise. And again, you guys will get a copy of the recording. So now we're going to really start to define that where do we focus. So goal, where do you want to be in a year? Or you can say the end of 2026. We've got that. But now we need to break it down into not time increments, but focus increments. So number one, if that's where I want to be, what do I need to focus on to get there? So if you said your goal of where you want to be at the end of this year was, I want to have 10 new clients, or I want a full pipeline of opportunities, then what you need to focus on is lead generation and sales. Okay. If you said, in my case, I'm really good at the sales and marketing side, but I'm trying to delegate get some things off my plate, then what I need to focus on is I need to break down what I need to get off my plate into smaller increments. And then I need to find somebody, a resource to delegate that to. And then I need to train them. So I would have 3 targets. One is really define what those pieces are. Secondly, is find resources to do those for me. And third is to train those resources. That would be what my target is. I've got my goal. I want my business to be more scalable. I've got the demand side down in spades. I want to work on what I call the supply side. And so I would my target would be those 3 things, and I would break that down. So now I've started to break it down. That is very different than just setting a goal. So now I've started to give it context. It's almost like if you look at those little markers on that little road, I've started to develop some markers on the road so I know what it looks like. I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to kind of do that real quick, to really think about breaking it down, and then we'll take the next step. Okay, so I want to give you a little context. In any given day, business has two priorities: clients and serving those clients. I call it business simple. And this is what we call the fulcrum. It's like a seesaw. We have to balance this. So, more than likely, your target should be one of these, not both of these. Do you need to get clients, or do you need to figure out how to more efficiently serve clients? If both of these are off, then choose one to fix and choose the getting clients to fix first. If you feel like you're decent or average at getting clients, then work on how you can more efficiently service clients. If you're great at getting clients, you definitely want to focus on serving clients, but don't try to do them both at the same time. Again, one of the biggest mistakes we make is we try to fix it all at one time. That's impossible. You can't do it. And what I do and what I teach people is get a little bit better at getting clients and then get a few more things off your plate on the serving those clients. Get a little bit better at getting clients, get a little more off your plate of serving clients. That's what we call the fulcrum, and you kind of balance it. Fulcrum is that center of a seesaw where you're balancing it. Eventually, you have to become great at both of these, but you can't do it all at once. So I've kind of given you an example of what I mean by this. So now what you're going to do is you're really going to prioritize. So let's say getting clients is my target. And so I'm going to be working in this side right here. Now you've got three things that need to be done. You need to get some awareness for your business. You need to get some leads, which is interest, and you need to close them. What is the priority for the week of these three? Again, you can't do it all. What's the priority for this week? Again, I'm going through this right now, but I'm on the service side. So for one of my business, I'm trying to get some things off my plate. And what I'm doing right now is I've got my areas identified. Now I'm looking for the people that can do them. That's all I'm focused on this week. I'm not figuring out how to do it. I'm not figuring out how to train them. I'm just trying to find the resources that I need. That should probably save resources. Emily, make a note of that, that I want to change this from people to resources. So what you're doing now is you're breaking it down into a clear priority. And you're saying, okay, if that's where I want to be at the end of this year, my target is going to be this. I've got to focus on these things. But this week, just this week, I'm going to choose one of them and I'm going to focus, not five, not two, but one, so that you're just working on that one thing at a time. Now, all of a sudden, you've actually developed focus. And it's just like that, breaking it down. Where do you want to be? What do you need to focus on honestly? And then how do I break that down into a priority? Again, I'm going to give you about 30 seconds to kind of jot some notes down. Again, you're going to finish it after we wrap up. At the end, I'll take some questions, but I'm going to give you about 30 minutes. And then next, we're going to go over to how do you invest time. So about a 30-minute break. Okay. So I've been an entrepreneur. I started my first solo business in 2002. So I'll be 61 here next month. I've been doing this for a long, long, long time. Some of you might not have even been born back then. But I've been doing this for a long time. My biggest breakthrough as an entrepreneur was this. I erroneously thought that I started my business to have control. I had been a corporate executive. Then I gone to a couple of startups. I learned how to raise private equity capital. Then I was hired by an internet company to be their president. We took that company public. That was quite the ride. Wonderful. Dot-com bubble bursts. September 11th happens. Prodigy buys us. AT&T buys Prodigy. I'm back in a big company again. And I'm like, there is no way, not doing that. So I leave on September 12th of 2001, right after 9/11 happened. And I went out on my own. And in my mind, I started that business because I wanted control. I wanted to do it my way. And most of the time when people start a business, it's for that reason. I want control. I want to do it my way. Let me tell you, control is not what you want. What you really want is freedom. Think about the difference between those two words, control versus freedom. Entrepreneurship does not give you control, but when you learn how to invest time, it can give you freedom. And it took me about 6 years of working like a crazy woman trying to grow this business, which I did, but I wore myself out and basically had adrenal failure, and complete nervous system dysregulation, wearing myself out trying to control this business that I was growing very rapidly as an entrepreneur. And then I remember after about 5 years of this in 2007, I had this epiphany that I don't want control. What I really want is freedom, which is a completely different game. And I began to shift how I thought about freedom. And that's when I learned about investing time. And I developed the strategy, which I'm going to show you. I use, you can purchase these off of Amazon. This is a stack of $100 bills. They're sitting right here in front of me. It's fake. So it's kind of from the motion picture. It's kind of fake money that you would see in a movie. But I have these sitting right here, and I have them sitting in front of me because the kind of money that I want to make is I want to make about $400,000 to $500,000 a year, which is about $200 every hour, every working hour. So I break that $200 down into $100 bills, and every 30 minutes for me, because of what I want to earn, is worth $100. So this idea of investing time is, if I want to make $400,000 to $500,000 a year, that's $200 an hour on average, working around 40 hours a week. I have to use every 30-minute block as if it's worth $100. So I have that $100 bill sitting there when I start my day, and I'm thinking about, am I using this 30-minute block in a way where it's an investment in my future income? So pick a number, that how much you want to earn a year from now. It can be $50,000 a year, 100, 200, 300, 500, whatever. And then divide that by 2,000 hours in a year. And whatever that number is, that's going to be your investment of per hour that you're going to do. So you need to know what every hour is worth. For me, because I'm the efficiency queen, I break it down into 30-minute increments. So I learned how to invest time. And this fake $100 bill, use a real one if you want. I have a real one in my wallet, but I have the fake one sitting right here. This reminds me that I'm investing time. I'm not spending it, and I don't want to waste it. When I find myself cycling and and I just kind of, I'm spinning, I know it's time to take a break. If I'm spinning and I'm not efficient, it's time to take a break. And I invest $100 or $200 or sometimes $300 and take an hour and a half off and go sit out by the pool, because that's an investment in my well-being. So learning how to invest time looks like this. First, you have to know the number. And then secondly is you have to really think about, where are you going to put your time? What is the best use of your time? And the tool that we recommend is called the energy impact chart. This has been around for a long time. It's not something we created, but it's one of my favorites. And so I look at, how much energy does this activity give me? And then how much impact is it in my business? And then I just plot all of the minutia of things that I have to do. And then you've got some choices to make. So I'll give you some examples. Accounting is over here. It's not high impact. Most of the time it drains you. For some people, marketing activities are not very enjoyable, but they have high impact. So they could be here or here. Servicing clients, that should be something that's over here. So you take all of those things, servicing clients, paperwork, website changes, social media posting, lead generation, networking, all of the activities that you do, and you plot them on the chart. And then you start deciding, sometimes you can drop an activity altogether. Um, Sometimes it's just busy work and you're doing it. Social media posting doesn't really impact your business. Sometimes it does. Do you like doing it? If it's impacting your business, you got to do it. If you don't like doing it, we're going to delegate it. And then ultimately, what you're going to do is you're going to build a way to, let me get that off the screen real quick. You're going to build a strategy so that you're slowly delegating the high impact things you don't enjoy and doing, this is like your priority ones. You got to do those. This would be, you'd either delegate next, make that priority two, or if you've got time left over, you would do it over here. So you plot all of the different millions of activities that you have, and you start plotting them on this chart. And ultimately, you either do them, delegate them, or drop them. And it's that simple. Like, don't overthink it. Yes, there's too much to do, but if you use this chart, that's how you break it up. And you do it with an eye towards what is 1 hour worth of your time. In my case, some of the things that I don't enjoy doing are things that I could pay somebody to do and get it off my plate when I can afford to do it. Now, I can't always afford to do it. So I have to be really careful and I have to grow the business in such a way that I can ultimately delegate it. But I know what those things are. Literally, I have a list of those things. And as soon as my revenue gets here, that gets delegated. As soon as my revenue gets here, that gets delegated. As soon as my revenue gets here, that gets delegated. And for me, I want to spend all of my time up here doing the things that I love to do. Okay, so that's part of the investment. The second thing comes back to priorities and focus. So I talked before about how to prioritize, but what you're also trying to prioritize is doing more of what you love, not less of what you love, but doing more of what you love, because that builds energy. And when you build energy, it makes you more efficient. That delegating those high impact items in that bottom right hand chart, that is super powerful. And then drop anything that doesn't create positive impact. I've gone a year or more without sending out nurture emails or posting on social media. In one business, I went a year without doing accounting on a regular basis. It just wasn't impactful. We had to wait until we got the end of the year, got our taxes, and then we had to get caught up. But I went a whole year without getting my financial statements because it wasn't really helping me. And so you kind of look at, how can I do more of what I love, delegate the things that I don't enjoy, and drop anything that's not creating a positive impact. And then this other tool is kind of my secret sauce for maximizing time. So how I use this, and I'll be happy to send this chart if it'd be helpful, is I start with increments of 2 hours or less. Some people call this time chunking or time blocking. I kind of have a different take on it. So you can kind of work with what works for you, but you break things down in increments. And then you really look at your natural rhythms. For me, there's certain things that I'm better at in the morning and certain things I'm better at in the afternoon. So you kind of look at your natural rhythms, and then you start blocking any have to meetings that are on the calendar. And then you basically kind of put them into those categories. When you're done, it's going to look something like this. And by the way, this is so effective that we teach every employee in our portfolio of companies learns how to do this. So there's a whole course that we have on just this. We teach every employee. It's available to every ShiftCo member of how to break this down. But we say ease into Mondays. So Mondays, you should have like a block where you're easing into it. And then you really think about those natural rhythms. And then you try to ease out on Fridays. Now, I love what I do. So I do work on Saturdays and Sundays, but I almost always have a time block on Monday morning that allows me to just ease into the week. And I almost always have Friday afternoons broken off where I can ease out of that period. So by using a tool like this, now you're starting to use your time effectively. And if you've set your priorities and if you've got your focus, what will start to happen is now you can start using time more effectively, and using it to actually think of it more like an investment. So that's that tool. The last concept is probably my favorite. And I call it the athlete's advantage. I was on an advisory board for a company that trained professional and collegiate athletes on how to start a business. And they did this research study, and they said that athletes are 3 times more successful as entrepreneurs than non-athletes. I was fascinated by that, and really started studying why is that. And the reason is athletes have trained themselves to make moves versus motions. A motion is what most entrepreneurs are doing. We're just doing stuff. We're going to this networking meeting, we're doing this thing over here, but it's not moving our business forward. And so we're in motion, we're doing stuff. And that is not focus. That's busy, it's not productive. A move is to go from one place to another. So when I'm making a move, I'm thinking about, is this going to move my business forward? So examples of that, somebody invites me to attend an event or to speak at an event, and it's like, you can come for the whole event. I'm really going to look at the agenda of that event, and I'm going to really see what's going to move my business forward. And I'm not going to attend the whole event. I'm only going to attend the things that are going to move my business forward. Or I go like Tuesday, I had an event that I was facilitating, and then I went to another networking event. Within about 30 minutes, I could tell the networking event was not a good use of my time, and I just politely excused myself and left. Why? Because if I would have stayed, I would have been in motion. I wouldn't have been making moves. It was like, my target market's not here. This is not the best use of my time. I'm going to move on and do something else. So learning how to make moves rather than be in motion is one of the ways that you can maximize time. And so I want you to be honest with yourself. Are you in motion? Are you doing stuff? Or are you making moves? Moves are very deliberate. And the way that it looks is, again, if you think about it like an athlete would, an athlete is not thinking about scoring a touchdown. They're thinking about moving the ball down the field. And it looks like this, a move is effort with intention. Effort with intention. I'm putting the effort out, but I have a very clear intention of where this is going to go. Moves are also measurable. And so, like when I go to a networking event, and this is a very important skill if you network, I go to a networking event, I say, I'm going to talk to 5 people. And if the first 5 people that I meet are not in my target market, if I don't have one or two that are not in, if I don't have one or two that are in my target market, I can tell that that event is not a good use of my time, and I basically politely leave. So I have a measure. Terry, you're going to talk to 5. If you don't meet 1 or 2 people that are in your target market, that tells you your target market's not there. That's what I mean by measurable. And it's kind of like where you're doing activities on a daily basis that are moving your business forward. And you have to be ruthlessly honest with yourself. Are the vast majority of things that you're doing moving your business towards your goal, or are they just busy and they're not really moving you anywhere? And then you just dedicate time each day to making moves. Why? Because you're thinking of yourself as an investor, and you're thinking about every hour generating a return on your time. Okay, so just one more thing that I just want to mention. Shiftco provides tools and training to grow your business. The membership is $235 a month. There's no long-term commitment. In addition to all of the business training, we have focus tools and coaches that'll work with you on that. We have mindset training, prosperity challenge, confidence training. We also have breakthrough coaches that help you work through where you're stuck. And so you're welcome to check us out. There's 3 ways that you can do that. One is, if you're curious, Emily's going to drop a link to what we call Inside Shiftco. It gives you kind of a peek inside what it's like and why it works. Or you can email me. You can also schedule a free coaching session. Emily will put my calendar in for that. Or you can continue to attend free events. We'd love to have you. The next 2 events that we have is pricing, and then the conscious business forecast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to end the recording, and then I'm going to take some